Today we're going to look at our x and y intercepts. Our x-intercept is the point where the function crosses our x-axis. It's the place where our y value equals 0. So if you look over here at our graph, this is our x-axis. The point where this function crosses the x-axis is right here. Okay, that's your x-intercept. Okay, and if we look at it, it's where x is -2. Now looking at this second piece of information where the y value is 0, if you were to write this ordered pair, it would be -2, 0. Okay, so that's what it means when it says that y value is 0. But it's just the x value when we have y equals 0. Now our y-intercept is a very similar concept, except your y-intercept is the place where your function crosses your y-axis, where your x value is 0. So again, look at your y-axis. Okay, you want to look where your function crosses that y-axis, which is right here, and that's your y-intercept. So we would say our y-intercept is where y equals 4. And again, if you looked at this y-intercept, its ordered pair would be 0, 4. So where x equals 0, that's where you get your y-intercept. Now don't forget, we still are also talking about domain and range. In order to find your domain for this function, you need to think about your boundaries on your left and right side. So if I were going to look at this function really quickly, my boundaries, I've got this side and I've got this side. So for my x values, what I notice is this left side of my box ends right here at -3. Now my upper value, the highest x value I have, it's going to keep going on and on and on forever. So my domain of this function are all the x values that are in between -3 and infinity. Now for my range values I'm looking for my y values. So I want to look at the highest and lowest y values I have. So again, if you look at the lowest y value, it's right here at -2. We have an end point, so we end at -2. But when we look at the top, again, it continues going on and on forever with that arrow all the way up to infinity. So our range is every y value in between -2 and positive infinity. All right, so on this graph, we're going to do all the things: x-intercept, y-intercept, domain, and range. So let's start with our x-intercept here. Our x-intercept is the place where we cross the x-axis. So I'm going to highlight my x-axis right here. And I want to look at the place where this function intercepts my x-axis. Now what I hope you see is it intercepts at 2 points, right here and right here. This function has 2 x-intercepts. It has an x-intercept at where x equals -5 and where x equals 4. Okay. Now, for our y-intercept is where we cross our y-axis. So I'll highlight that y-axis. I'm going to look really quickly. I see right here, this is my y-intercept. Okay, my y-intercept is where y equals 5. Okay, let's talk domain and range, and I'm going to clear this board up a little bit just so that these other lines don't get in the way here. Oops. Ugh. It got rid of my endpoints. So give me a second. I'm going to draw these endpoints back on. I had an endpoint here. I had an endpoint here. Sorry about that. All right, so let's talk domain and range. Our domain are the values of my my boundaries for my x values. So I'm going to draw a line here. I'm going to draw a line here so we can see what those boundaries are. And on the left side here, we have this arrow, which means we're going to keep going on and on and on until -infinity. On the right side, we have a definite boundary here at 4. So now my domain is going to go from -infinity all the way up to +4, and it's going to be all the x values in between there. Now my range is going to be talking about my y values. My y values, again, go as high as this and as low as this, but I hope you notice that it ends in an arrow down here. So again, we're going to continue going on till -infinity. So my range is going to be from -infinity all the way up to +5, and all of the y values that are in between. Okay? So try the on your own problems, and we'll continue tomorrow in class.